Hey, y'all, it's episode 92 of the Late Night Vision Show. We have another great show, jam-packed, full of stuff. We got a lot of awesome things to talk about. But before we do that, we're going to bring in Mr. Jason Robertson, owner of Outdoor Legacy. How are you doing, Jason?
Man, I am doing good tonight, Hans. What is going on in your sliver of East Texas?
I don't know. I kind of came in hot on that. I was fired up like I just drank a 5-hour energy before I started
jacked
talking.
Up on that Mountain Dew.
It's funny, when I was doing the countdown, I almost was, in a daze, and then I just fired it right back up. But no, I've got a couple fun things coming up. So this weekend, you've heard me kind of talk about it, but this weekend is the Conway Farms Predator Hunt. So if you're in East Texas, anywhere near Tyler, I know people all around the world listen to this, and they're probably like, where the heck's Tyler, Texas? But if you're anywhere near and you want to do a fun predator hunt, I'm going to be out there. I've got a team, and I did it last year. It was a good time. But you can email us, and I'll get you a sign-up form. But it's this weekend. This weekend is the 8th. February. Email me or email the show, the Late Night Vision Show at gmail.com. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
the emails are fixing to start piling in.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We need a good turnout. I'm sure it'll beat last year's, but we had a good turnout last year. Outdoor Legacy is giving away a Sightmark Wraith HD.
So I've been told.
Yeah,
I've been told. And
I weaseled that out of Jason, so we could give it away at the weigh-in.
He weaseled it out, and then we sold out. So actually, all we're giving away is a piece of paper that says you're entitled to one. But
it's good as cash money.
It's good as cash money. That's right.
So we're doing that this weekend, February 8th, and it's gonna be fun. I'm excited. 24-hour hunt. It's a grind. I feel like I'm getting too old for it, but it's a good thing. I'm hunting with some younger guys. They keep me going, so we'll see how it goes. We got second place last year, and we ended up with 8. We got 8 coyotes, and probably take a lot more than that to win it this year, but we gave it our best.
Well, it sounds like work to me. It sounds a lot like running a marathon. It just doesn't appeal to me, but
absolutely.
No.
And the next thing I got going on is this Thursday, which is the 6th. Yeah, February 6th. If you're anywhere near Sulphur Springs, Texas, which is near, it's kind of northeast Texas, right outside of, if you're going east on I-30, like if you're going towards Arkansas, Sulphur Springs, they're having their Ducks Unlimited banquet. And I am going there to support Mr. Dwayne Doc Collins as he runs for Texas House of Representatives District Number 2. He's a good family friend, and I'm going out there to support him. And he bought up a whole table, and I get to go. If you see me, I'm going to be there fingering all the shotguns and trying to throw
not winning anything,
not winning nothing. Yeah. So I've donated money in the past, never won, but I'm going to be there. If you're going to be at the Ducks Unlimited banquet in Sulphur Springs, Texas, on February 6th, come up, say hi. I want to meet you. And yeah, so that's got a lot going on this week. It's a busy week. What about you?
So I just want to know, so let's just say that somebody came to this. What do you charge at your table for autographs? I mean, when you're going to be there, obviously with piles stacked high of pictures of you and a dead hog, and you've got, I mean, did Crystal buy you like the jumbo size Sharpies? I mean, are you just
gosh, wow. You're
sorry.
Assuming that anybody's going to ask me for my autograph, which I'm very flattered.
No, I'm actually assuming no one is going to ask you. That's
yeah. So we talked about this before the show, and Jason was patronizing.
He just told me. He said, "Hey, I'm going to go to this deal," and he said, "I'm going to talk about it." I just got tickled. I was like, "Man, is somebody going to show up to come see you?" But I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm being mean.
Your exact words were. When Doc Collins, who's running for House Representatives, asked me to go out there, and he's like, wow, he couldn't pick anybody else to go with.
I think I said he must need votes bad if he's asking you
out there. Yeah. So Doc is a good family friend of ours. He's helped us out a bunch, and I'll do anything to support him. He lets me hunt on his
He's
place.
he's a customer of Outdoor Legacy.
Customer of Outdoor Legacy. He's running for House of Representatives for Texas District Number 2, which is a big area. I mean, Van Zant, all around different parts of East Texas. It goes around a long way. But I know we're going to be getting into FLIR talk and state of the industry talk. But I tell you, Doc's a good guy, man. He helped me out. I had a great a dog that I loved. His name was Buford, and he was a plot hound. Best hog dog that I ever saw. He would run into the woods, and he would piss off a hog enough that it would start chasing him, and then he'd run right back to me. So I'd see him running out of the woods with a hog chasing him, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do, you know? He ended up getting hit by a car, it was late, and we called Doc, and Doc came out there in the middle of the night, and we had to put the dog down, basically put him to sleep right there in the ditch. And he came out, and took care of us. And
for those that don't know at this point, Doc is a vet and not a brain surgeon, so no. He doesn't just come out for dog calls.
Yeah, he's a vet. He's our vet here in Edom, Ben Wheeler area, and so yeah, if y'all are anywhere in his district, please vote for him. It's elections. The primary is in March. So, but anyway, we'll get off election talk. There's a lot of that right now. You know, the primary for the Democrats is going in Iowa, and that's the first of all the primary season. So I know a lot of people checking out the news right now to see who is going to be the opponent or might likely be the opponent for Donald Trump coming up here pretty soon. So I've been checking out the news every now and then and seeing what's going on, but I've got my picks of who I'd like to see him run against, but
yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so this week we're going to be talking about we're going to readdress the FLIR situation because it's come up quite a bit. There's still a lot of talk about it on the internet, so we're going to kind of, I guess, wrap that up with a bow and light it on fire on somebody's porch and forget about it forever.
Yeah,
forget about it forever. And we're going to talk about FLIR. We're going to talk about the state of the industry, night vision and thermal industry, because how that relates to FLIR going away. A lot of people think out there that that's great news for these other companies, but it's really not, and we're going to explain why. And we're also going to talk about the prices of some of these thermal and night vision optics, and people wondering, are they coming down? Are they going to come down soon? And what's going on with that? Because I know, Jason, you and I get a bunch of calls from people that say, man, is this stuff ever going to come down in price? You know, I'm kind of been watching, and it's kind of been staying still. So, you know, it kind of doesn't follow the norm of, I guess, normal electronics, electronics that come out. 10 years ago, you probably couldn't even find a 72-inch TV or a flat screen TV. If it did, it was $10,000, and now you can go to Walmart and get one for $400. And I think that's the expectation in the industry as far as with thermal and night vision scopes. And it really hasn't been that way. So there's a lot of people out there wondering what's going on.
We'll discuss that here later in the show, because that is something we get asked a lot. I was talking to folks on the phone about today, but I'm going to jump right in here, and I want to talk about this FLIR deal. So anybody who's watching this who doesn't know what's going on, and I know there are still people who don't know, FLIR, who was one of the major thermal manufacturers making thermal rifle scopes in this industry, about, I don't know what it's been now, 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually closed their OTS division, which was Outdoor Tactical Systems, and that was the manufacturer, their portion that made all the thermal scopes for the hunting industry. And they closed that division, fired the employees, and they're done. And they finally released a statement about 2 or 3 weeks later, which was way late and very short, and basically said they're going to focus on the, and I quote, professional user. And
I'm offended. I'm offended by that.
I am too. That was offensive. And they said they were going to, focus on the professional user, which was going to be law enforcement and military. And that is offensive to. I'm not even gonna bite there, because if I did, I would probably lose some fans of the show, because I would get ugly on that. But anyway, so with that said, they've made their decision. Now, the rumors on the street from day one have been that the board of directors, the CEO, the president, the janitors, anybody that you can name is anti-gun, is anti-hunting, is whatever, and with a comment like professionals and unprofessionals, it is highly possible. Okay, I've heard those rumors about the new CEO for a couple years now.
And is it true that he's ex-military? Is that true?
That is my understanding. Is he's ex-military and he's anti-hunting. Okay. And I look, go on the record here. That is what I've been told. So I did not. Yeah, allegedly. Allegedly, I did not look that part up. I've got some other facts and figures that we're going to dive into. If you don't like numbers and you don't like math and you don't like economics and you don't like any of that, this next 5 minutes may be boring. But to me, this is actually pretty interesting. And so what I'm going to do here is this. I want to make this case. Number one, could there be, political or social issues that fueled the fire for FLIR to close OTS? And again, OTS, just when we say that, Outdoor Tactical Systems, that's this division that closed. Mm-hmm. Could there be reasons there? Sure. I will not deny that. I have no proof of it. I have seen no proof other than all these rumors that somebody's anti-hunting and, and again, maybe it's true, but we need more than, and there was an article that somebody posted from a website that was sketchy at best, that had an anonymous source for all of its information.
What corners of the internet are you hanging out? You always come up with the
well, it was posted all over Facebook, and
you're hanging on Facebook,
Facebook's the worst. And I got it emailed to me about 2 or 3 times, and it was the sketchiest. Sketchiest thing I'd ever seen. I'm not saying what the article said wasn't true, but everything was. I don't want to. Somebody's going to be brother-in-laws with whoever wrote this. I don't know. There was no proof whatsoever. So Here's what I say: is it possible? Yes. Show me real proof besides an anonymous source. I want to see something. I want to see a statement. I want to see a comment. Now, in reality, what's it matter? They're gone. They made their bed. Let them lie in it. They don't like us. Fine. But I don't want to stand up for FLIR because I don't have any kind of undying love for them or any connections to FLIR, anything. But I do want to say that I like to try to be the person who steps back and says, well, let's look at this from all the different angles. And sometimes that's really hard, especially things I'm passionate about, like hunting and all this sort of stuff. But I've seen so many things, rumors fly, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be like the Democrats, and I don't want to jump all over something because it fits my agenda and it fits what I want. I want to look and let's back up, try to be objective and see. So here's what I found doing some research and doing some math. I want to talk to people about this just a little bit so that maybe it will help you understand that at the end of the day, no matter what the underlying, motives are out there, this was a business decision, plain and simple. And I want to show you why they made this business decision. Because now, when we go back in retrospect, the writing was all over the wall, and I'm going to explain that. So let me tell you a little bit about FLIR real quick. They are a Fortune 500 company. They employ over 2,800 employees. They own multiple other companies, including a large company that a lot of people are familiar with called Ray Marine, that is owned by FLIR. And they had been making, now everybody thinks that, FLIR, they used to be synonymous with thermal. People would say, I want to buy a FLIR, and that just meant they wanted to buy a thermal scope, monocular. But FLIR was selling thermal cores to Armasight, and Armasight was making them and whipping their rear end. And FLIR had their old RS series scopes. They were floundering around. They weren't selling many, and Armasight was a small company and just whipping FLIR with their own product. So what does a Fortune 500 company do in those situations? They buy them out. That's what they always do. And you know, I'll skip to the end of the story. What do big companies do when they buy out the little company? They turn them into the big company by doing all the things they were doing wrong before, and then they just quit doing whatever it was they started. And that's exactly what they did with Armasight. So in 2016, sorry, I'm getting a drink here. I'm talking so much. In 2016, FLIR bought Armasight in June for $41 million. And they brought in all the, or not say all, but most of the FLIR employees, and they said, listen, we want y'all to come on and build us some new scopes. So that's where we got the FLIR Thermosight Pro PTS 233, 536, 736, and the Breach. If you look at those and you look at Armasight scopes, they're essentially the same thing. I mean, they are that body, that housing, that design. It's an Armasight, design there. They used the new FLIR boson cores, and those were really great scopes. Now, one thing to note is those scopes did not come out until mid to late 2018. Those scopes have really only been on the market a little over a year. The 233 came out, I believe, around June, and the 536, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, came around August or September of 2018. So if you think about it, year and a half or so, or a little less, is about all that those scopes have even been on the market. They were great sellers, and basically all those guys had contracts, and the original Armasight guys, when their contracts were up, they fired every one of them, and just that's what big companies do. They use you and then they get rid of you, and they did. Well, basically at that point it really started floundering around, and fast forward, nothing new comes out. Nothing from FLIR in the thermal scope area. They're just selling those same scopes, which are good scopes. Customer service at one point had gone down. It came back up, was getting better. They started restructuring the OTS division and moving it around within the company. Remember, we're talking about a Fortune 500 company, so they work like the government, and they're about as efficient as the government. And so they've done this restructuring. Well, now, so here's where I want to get into. If you go back, and I've done this, I've studied these, they're out there for anybody to see. If you'll go back and start reading the quarterly earnings reports from FLIR starting in 2018, what you will see is every time there's a mention of OTS and how it's got problems and how it's losing money. And I'm talking all the way back to 2018. And in one quarter of 2018, I don't remember which quarter it was, because I got so many notes here, but the OTS was part of the commercial division. And the commercial division had done $394 million, and it was down 30%, and it blamed it on OTS and their restructuring. 30% of one whole division is down year over year, and they're blaming this division. Okay, there's a problem. Follow this through 2019, every quarter, same thing. And then the last quarter that they have the earnings report out is Q3. In the third quarter, they make comments such as OTS continues to face strong headwinds, and all this, it's there. In retrospect, when you read it now, and they talk about the earnings are in black and white, and you go, wow, they were losing money, and they were losing money with the OTS division.
And you and I could tell SHOT Show 2019, they were not invested in this market. They were not, it did seem like a stepchild. Their heart wasn't in it, and the writing was on the wall almost back then. SHOT Show 2019 over a year ago, and they weren't coming out with anything new. They weren't pushing any new products or pushing technology. Nothing like any of the other scope companies out there, and there was just no emotional attachment to to this industry and to the consumers.
No, you're exactly right, Hans. And it was obvious. And to industry insiders, we could see what was going on. I mean, we could see that. Now, we didn't think that this was going to happen right now. I mean, we all kind of predicted and would say things like, man, if FLIR's selling thermal scopes in 5 years, you know, or if they're not, I won't be surprised. But you say things like that, and you don't really think that tomorrow they're going to quit. You know, I mean, none of us saw this, you know, coming. Hey, the employees of FLIR OTS didn't see it coming either. I want to be clear there.
No.
But
many,
so
many of them weren't they at the an outdoor show in Dallas a week before SHOT Show?
Club. Yeah, a week
Safari
before.
Club. Yeah, a week before SHOT Show, and they found out the tough way that they no longer had a position at FLIR while they were out of town working. And that's the most unfortunate part of this whole thing.
Absolutely. And let's be clear. The SHOT Show booth was booked. Their floor space was booked. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. The hotel rooms and flights were booked. Okay. This was a last minute decision that nobody saw coming. So no question about it. And I say nobody, I mean, maybe somebody on the board somewhere, but what I have a feeling, and then this is my speculation, is they basically have got the unofficial numbers for 2019 fourth quarter and went, okay, we're not going to go to SHOT Show and write a bunch more orders because this thing is floundered long enough. Right. And so there's been this sentiment, and this I guess is the one thing that I want to address, because I think it's easy to sit back, you know, on your sofa and make these comments of things like, well, I can't repeat all the things that I've seen people say about FLIR, but it's like, good luck to them, hope they go bankrupt, blah, blah, blah. Listen, folks, FLIR's estimated revenue for 2019, we don't know what they closed at for the year, but their estimate was between 1.92 and 1.95 billion dollars with a B. Now, to bring this into perspective, it is estimated that the entire thermal rifle scope for hunting, our industry, the estimates is that the whole industry might not be but $100 to $125 million, maybe 150 at most. FLIR, now I'm pulling these numbers out of the air here, but talking to some other people in the industry, the estimates are FLIR could be doing, or could have been doing, maybe at most 18, 20 million in revenue. Okay, not profit, revenue. And I don't even know, that may be too high, to be honest with you. But if let's just round up, and let's say they did 20 million in revenue out of basically, $2 billion. I mean, that's just like, you thump that money off. I mean, that's like stepping over a quarter or a nickel in the parking lot, you know, because it's covered in mud. That is no big deal to them. And I want to be clear, I don't have access to all their financials other than what they've published out there. And it's been obvious for a couple years reading the reports now. And again, in hindsight, the thing wasn't making any money. I mean, it wasn't, you know.
Put politics aside and the rumors and stuff going on the internet. If they were making money, they'd still be in business, or they'd still be producing scopes for the
or they'd have sold it.
Yeah.
You know, let's just say if you want to get your hands out of it because you've got that's fine. But this is a Fortune 500 company that has to answer to the shareholders and the stockholders. They'll turn around and they'll sell it off and say, yeah, we wanted to get out of that. It's dirty money. And we got out, and hey, look, we've got $100 million to throw back in the kitty. They closed it because it was losing money.
Oh, I mean, that's pure and simple. It's
a business decision.
Yeah, no company dumps something that quickly unless it's bleeding money, and that's exactly what it was. It was an unfortunate situation for a lot of employees on the OTS side. We hate to hear and hate to hear about that. But so how does this relate to the thermal night vision market? I know, with what is going on, there's one big player now that's completely gone. There's some couple smaller companies that are trying to fill that void. But so what does that mean for overall sentiment of this industry moving forward?
Well, I think we've touched on this a little bit in places, and to be honest, I've talked about it so much. I've talked about it on the phone with customers, via email, and some social media places. To be honest, I don't even know what all we've said on the show versus what we've said, just in talking. So some of it runs together. So if we've said some of this on the show, forgive us. But this is not good for our industry. It's actually a blow to our industry. And I think we touched a little bit on this last week on our 2020 SHOT Show recap, but this is instability in a market. Right. And it's not like, it's not this big giant market where, I don't have anything to compare it to. It's like, let's take all the Cokes, which we're in the South, we call it Coke. So just sodas, whatever you want to call it. You take that and you take some obscure brand, and you knock it off. And hey, guess what? They're not making Mr. Pibb anymore. Well, who cares? There's three guys somewhere that, this is a lot bigger. It's a little bitty market. All things being said, with just a few players in it. And so when you take a big one out, it has effects on everybody. And again, so instability is never good. It's never good for anybody. But what I think this does, and talking to some of these other manufacturers in private, they don't like it because now they start looking around at these power plays. Okay, we knew who our competitors were. We knew their strengths. We knew their weaknesses. We knew how to market against them. We knew what scopes we needed to make to beat them at their, everybody's playing that game. But now it's like, okay, who is going to rise up and take this this business? Because all those scopes still need to be sold, and this industry is still growing. There's new people coming in every day, every month to this industry. So who's going to get those? Well, I don't know who's going to get them, but I can tell you that you look at businesses like Pulsar, who are unarguably the market leader in this industry. They have taken that position over in the last 3 years, and I don't think there's anybody that can argue with that. Just what they've done and what they're doing. Right. And so, but anybody who knows much about it knows they can't produce enough scopes to meet the demand at any time. 2017, 2018, 2019. Yeah,
I think that's maybe the perception is, well, that just opens it up for Pulsar and some of these others to sell more scopes. And that may be somewhat true, but Pulsar is already manufacturing all that they can sell right now. They can't manufacture any more than they're already manufacturing. So there's a limited amount of inventory from all of these manufacturers that can be produced, and any instability is not a good thing. And it's just like the stock market. Something happens in the corner of the world, and it adds to the overall global consensus of what's going on in the marketplace, and it affects it negatively. Any small piece of bad news affects the market negatively, and it's the same thing with our industry. It gives a perception that there's instability in the night vision thermal hunting market, and I don't think that's particularly accurate. But
and here's what it also does. There's two ways of looking at this. So we all agree that a certain amount of competition is good. That's a good thing. Even in my own business, I do not mind good, honest competition. It's a good thing for me because it keeps Hans and I on top of our game. We're constantly saying, what can we do to do a better job than our competitors? What can we do to earn the trust and the sales of our future customers? So
that's exactly right. On the plane back from Vegas at SHOT Show, when I developed bronchitis, conjunctivitis, you and I were, talking about what we can do to be better than everybody else. And we were sitting there brainstorming. I should have, I think you got me sick. You were breathing in my direction.
I didn't. Hey, I wasn't sick. I wasn't.
You were an incubator. It didn't affect you, but
okay.
You
yeah,
gave it to
bet.
me.
But no, Hans is right. So just his example, because of our competition, we're trying to find out how to do better and to create a better service for our customers. And so this isn't about us, but it's the same thing. Pulsar needs competition. Envision, Trigicon. Well, I mean, look what Envision has done to Trigicon. They've come in and, taken down, I shouldn't say taken down, but have come in and chopped away at this giant that was the undisputed, if you want the Cadillac, the Escalade, you go buy a Trigicon, and here's Envision. It's kind of like David coming in against Goliath, and here they are. And so it's a good thing. And it's going to make Trigicon either stand up and make some changes and some improvements or some new scopes, or they've got problems if they don't. And I think people are seeing that now a year into this. So again, competitions is good. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I think this is where, and again, folks, I know a lot of this is inside baseball, but if you like thermal, and if this is more than just you're buying a scope and you're passing through, and if you're really into this is a big deal for our industry. And so this is where somebody like AGM, they didn't just get their foot in the door. They were given a Christmas present on a gold platter with a bow on top. And this is honestly theirs to fumble. The ball was just handed to them, and they were set up just right. This is their chance. Now, what they're going to do with it, time's going to tell. We're going to start reviewing their stuff and find out.
Yeah, I was going to say that. We've got some stuff coming in here very soon. You and I are very anxious about testing some of their scopes and monoculars, and I tell you, I have high hopes for them. I hope they are everything that I wish for and more. And I know you wish the same thing. We were sitting there talking about, how we're going to kind of fill this void. But I'm excited about testing it, and I know that they're really excited about us reviewing them on the show. And there's
they're fans of the show, and it's shocking to Hans and I going in these manufacturers' booths, and they start talking about obscure episodes of the show that they listen to, and I'm like, anybody was listening, much less you. So
they do. Yeah, they check out the show. Everybody came up to us. Everybody came up to us at the booth, and they said they loved the show, and
didn't just say it. They were quoting odd things that I'm like, oh, they actually did listen to a lot of the show.
So it does. Last week we talked about AGM, and we weren't ready to give them a full endorsement because obviously we hadn't seen the scopes and we haven't tested them out in the field, and we said we didn't feel comfortable really putting a lot of effort and talking about it until we've tested it. And that's always an awkward moment because especially with people that listen to the show and you're just not ready to go all in on it yet. But they were really cool about it. They said they completely understand. They want us to test their stuff. They want to be able, for the consumers to know that whenever we endorse it, that it's, ready for the market, and it's people are going to be satisfied with the product. So that was really good to hear about that. It
was. We had a great conversation last week, and, they did say, hey, we listened to the show. We heard what you said. We understand, and we appreciate it. We want to prove ourselves. And I'm like, hey, this is what we want, so I do. I feel better all the time about it, and we'll see how it goes. Speaking of that, I'm going to get off just a little bit of kind of, how this affects the industry. I want to say this about AGM. I'm getting a lot of phone calls and emails asking about the AGM Secutor, and that is that $2,600 scope that we we showed real quick at the SHOT Show. I want to say a couple quick updates about it. Number one, that scope is not going to be released to the public until April or May is the current ETA. That scope is not available on the market today. So a lot of people asking me, hey, what do you think about it? When can I get one? We don't know yet. We are going to get our hands on one, and we're going to do some tests on it. But for actual production units, April, May is what that thing is estimated. And I want to mention a couple quick things about it. On the podcast there, or the whatever, from live from the show, one of their guys said that it was around a 2 power, and I believe that's what he said, because my memory thinks that, but a couple people have asked me, and talking to them now and going back to the specs, it's actually a 1.2 power. And I know that a lot of scopes, there's a lot of confusion in a lot of the booths. Anything there's something new, people get, maybe say the wrong thing, but it's a 1.2 power. Base magnification, which is almost no magnification. I want to be very clear. I can say without even seeing it, this is going to be a close range optic. I mean, there's no question. I mean, a 1.2 power is very, very low. Also, some people seem to believe that it had internal video recording. It does not. It records on an external digital video recorder is the only way you can record video with it. So I just want to be clear on that so that people kind of know. I had 2 or 3 phone calls today, people asking about it, and I just wanted to kind of put that out there. So we will be testing it soon. We'll be testing a lot of their other stuff. And again, I think this is a big chance for them to get into this market and see what kind of market share they can take, because again, Pulsar is where everybody is looking to. And I think that's great, but unless Pulsar can up their production, it's going to be tough for them. I think, even though that it's not a brand that we promote or that we suggest buying, I think that ATN is going to, they normally seem to have a better supply, and I think that they can benefit from this possibly.
Well, we're going to be rooting for AGM just like we did. We got on board with Envision really early. I mean, we were helping and pushing their stuff and testing their stuff very early. And we dedicated a lot of time on this show to them in the early days to help promote their new stuff. So we're definitely rooting for AGM just as much as we were rooting for Envision back in the day. So, I'm excited about getting in our hands. We're going to go out there and test it and see what it can do.
I want to talk about one thing, and I know we're going to run out of time here on the show, but I want to try to briefly, talk about this, because we're talking about the state of the industry, and prices are something that always comes up. And people say, hey, and it's understandable. We're talking about a lot of money here. You're not buying a BB gun. You're buying something that costs several $1,000s, or even if you're buying like a digital scope, you're buying something for $500, and hey, next week is it going to be $250? And that's an understandable question. And here's where we're seeing with prices in the market. In 2017, January is when Pulsar came out with all these new optics. And, the Trails, the RXQ30V, the Helions, they took the market by storm. That's a whole nother topic of discussion. We can jump into that sometime about really how we got to where we are today. And Pulsar has to get a lot of that credit for shaking the market up. Everybody was asleep when Pulsar came in here. They lowered the prices, period. And so anyway, and up the quality. But with that said, the problem is prices. People look at it and they go, man, we had this huge price drop. Well, we did, but that was 2017. And prices have been flat since then. I mean, we've still got the RXQ30V at $18.99. That's the same price it was at when it was released. That is still the least expensive, quality entry-level thermal monocular that we recommend. And, the XP50 Trail was $5,000. That was top of the line for Pulsar. The Thermion XP50, $5,000 today. So nothing has changed as we go into 2020 in those prices. FLIR's gone, but same kind of thing. Trigicon, when they bought out our defense, they actually went up $500 across the board. Envision, they've only had their scopes out for about a year, but no price changes. So anyway, people say, man, are the prices fixing to come down? And obviously, I can't predict the future. And I think we can see some things like the Pulsar Axions. Those key models went from $16.99 and $18.99 down to $11.99 and $14.99. And I know that upset a lot of people, but there's no good time to make a price. So I'm just going to try to wrap this up and say that the demand is so high and the supply is so low that I cannot imagine a manufacturer lowering the price right now. They could, and they could surprise us, but it just doesn't make sense if you can't get enough of what you're selling. And I think what we've seen is while the prices aren't going down, the quality has continued to go up. And I think, to me, that's worth it. While we all want dirt cheap thermal that's amazing, there's got to be enough money in it for them to continue to improve it and continue, like Pulsar, to put out these firmware updates and do the improvements like they did on these XP50 models or not just XP50, XP models. And so I don't see prices changing. I mean, we obviously just got to 2020 and SHOT Show, nothing major. I can't predict the future, but until this demand goes down or until the supply goes up, I think the prices are going to stay pretty stagnant, and that's just, again, a business. That's just the way economics and business works.
Yeah, they're selling more than they can make. With the way that making money works. I think the only way you'll see any type of huge discounts if they're trying to move out a scope to make room for something else. And maybe they're just trying to clear something out, but I don't see it coming anytime soon. But so that has been FLIR and industry talk going into 2020. So we've got a lot of things coming up to talk about soon. Stay tuned. Here in the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about AGM. I hope to be talking about maybe the new Sightmark Wraith 4K pretty soon, hopefully.
We're going to talk about the Pulsar DigX, and compare that to like the DigiSight N450. We got a lot of digital stuff coming up. A lot of digital stuff.
So, but again, AGM talk. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that. We'll have our hands on some stuff very soon. We'll be reviewing it, testing it out in the field, and giving our thoughts right here. You can find all the latest news, breaking news in night vision and thermal, hog and predator hunting right here on the Late Night Vision Show. This has been episode 92. If you want to check us out online, you can go to thelatenightvision.show.com. You can find all of our past episodes of the podcast right there. As you know, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify if you're driving in the car. But the best thing to do is check us out on video. We put a lot of time and effort into producing these videos. And it's not because we want people to see our pretty faces. I can promise you that. No. It is. But I know that there's a lot of people that enjoy watching on YouTube, and it adds a little bit more, character to the show, I guess. So thank you for checking us out. You can find outdoor legacy gear. If you're looking to buy anything related to night vision or thermal optics, check them out on outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call Jason at 877-350-1818. He is crazy busy right now, insanely busy. I help out from time to time when I can jump on a call or two, but he is up from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6:30 at night, taking phone calls and returning phone calls. But if you do call, he will call you back. We definitely want to take your call. We want to answer your questions. We want to help you decide on the best thermal or night vision optic for you. So please give us a call, 877-350-1818. And also you can find us on the Late Night Vision Show on Facebook, Instagram. I already told you about YouTube. And you can find me on YouTube at Hans ETX. That's HANS-ETX. Just put out my top 20 best Coyote and Predator drops of 2019. So it was a fun video to put together. And we'll talk about that. Jason, Glenn Guest with Hog Zombies wants to be back on the show. And there was a lot of people that have been talking to me about, they were asking, they heard the hog and distress sounds calling in a lot of those coyotes. And they're like, are you playing a hog caller and calling in coyotes? And man, I tell you what, I was very successful with that this year. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that soon. But yeah, you can find me. Yeah, find me on YouTube, Hans ETX, and also on Instagram.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to ask Glenn about that, because I was talking to him last week and talked to him about getting him back on the show. He said he'd do it, and I said, well, we've got some questions for you. So I'm sure we'll definitely be asking him. That's going to be a good one.
That guy has a call for everything. He was texting me at midnight last night, talking to me about how to call in beavers.
If it can be called in, Glenn can do it. Hey,
he's got a call for everything.
Thanks for listening. Episode 92. We appreciate your continued support of the show. Like, subscribe, never miss an episode. And as always, stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.